My name is LauraTKelso. I am an associate broker for a company called Next Home Champions, and I am actually a downsizing specialist. So anyone in this room need some help on downsizing? Awesome, you are in the right place. Well, I am so happy to have all of you here today. It's just amazing to me that after 10 months and so much learning that we're actually at the very final presentation of this season. So as you leave today, we've got all of the presentations for next year on both magnets and rack cards that you'll get to take with you because we'll be back in September. So I'm so excited about that. And over these next few months in the summer, as I kind of relax and regroup with my family, my hope is that all of you will take a little bit of time to just reflect on the things that you've learned this year. I mean, we've tackled some really deep subjects and done a lot of learning. Would you agree with that? Awesome. Well, I hope that all of you will just take some time and really look back on your notes and think about just one or two things that you would like to accomplish maybe over the summer and to just get started on. So one of my favorite mantras that I live by and that honestly, between you and I, keeps my sanity on a regular basis is done is better than perfect. Agreed? So all this stuff that we've talked about, a lot of it's big stuff and a lot of it's very complicated. But if you can just make a few steps and begin to make forward progress, positive progress in the right direction, and then simply take some time to reward yourself for that progress, because that's important to feel good about what you've gotten done. So today we are going to be talking about something, a topic that is really, really close to my heart: clutter. Now, why is that close to my heart? Well, ironically, as a realtor who works primarily with sellers, my job is to make your homes look like you don't live in them, right? Now, my home, on the other hand, looks pretty lived in. And I can tell you in no uncertain terms that on any given day, my home is not ready for a photo shoot. And I like to leave it at a level that I quantify as 20 minutes messy. Now, what does 20 minutes messy mean? It means that any of my close friends or my children's friends could stop over at any time and not be utterly shocked. And that if there was anyone that I really, wanted to impress, so to speak, and they were going to come to my house, if I had 20 minutes to prepare, I wouldn't be completely embarrassed. Sound good? Do any of you have systems like that or kind of attitudes like that with your house? You need about 20 minutes, and that's about it. So, all kidding aside, one of the things that I see on a really regular basis is that we simply all have too much stuff. We live in this society where I wanted to take time this morning and look up like the billion-dollar industry of storage, and I didn't get a chance to do that. But it is amazing how much stuff we collect throughout our lives. And, in real estate, as I'm working with people as they start to think about moving from their homes, I can tell you in no uncertain terms that the couples, the individuals, the families that have more stuff, their moves are much more stressful, much more complicated, and ultimately much more expensive. And I know that this talk today, many of you might be saying, well, why is she talking about moving? We're never moving. And that's okay, because today we're going to focus on downsizing from two aspects. So the first aspect is simply on how to begin to downsize your items so that you can live safely in your homes and comfortably for as long as you want to stay there. And to me, that's a really, really important aspect of downsizing. And then the second aspect we're going to touch on is for people who might be thinking of moving in the future. Because here's the rub. Whether you're moving or whether you're not moving, someday someone will have to deal with your stuff, okay? It may or may not be you. But at the end of the day, all families and all stuff will be dealt with. And I have watched many a seller, even those that are really strong and organized, reduced to tears because they could swear to me that their items are multiplying in their drawers and closets, right? It happens. I'm telling you, it's a thing. And sometimes I even talk to sellers who, not even sellers, but just older people who say, you know what? I'm just going to let my kids deal with it. I'm not even going to deal with it. It's my gift to them. I'm going to let them have all the treasures. Every Hummel is theirs. Well, whether you think that or not, I just want you to really think about the burden that you may or may not be placing on your family members and kids if that's more of your thought process. If you can't, get to this on your own, at the end of the day, somebody's going to have to. And on a regular basis, I have also worked with loving, devoted family members who have been left to take care of helping someone move into assisted living or helping deal with an estate after someone has passed. And it's tough. It's a really hard job. And you can take a good-sized large house, and it might take hundreds of hours to clear it out, okay? And if you're a child of an older adult and you're tasked with this job, and you might have children of your own and you might have a full-time job, somebody's taken a leave of absence from their job to do this. And it's tough. And it's not only a tough job, it's a tough job on top of grieving your loved ones. And so it really can be like a double whammy. So today we're going to tackle what I call kind of the fourth and final aspect of being a quote-unquote savvy senior. And that is the idea of simply downsizing your items to a degree where you can live safe and comfortably in your homes. Because I believe that a safe, clean, and welcoming home is a gift. It's not just a gift to your families, it's a gift to yourselves. And I believe that all of you deserve that, and I'm guessing that not all of you have that. And it really, truly can be life-changing. So no matter what format you use to get there, whether it's the KonMari method, Swedish death cleaning, using an organizer, not using an organizer, using your best friend, it doesn't matter. The best method is whatever method works for you. So we're going to hopefully give you a lot of ideas to springboard you and just get you thinking and get you excited to do this. All of my speakers today are absolutely experts in this category and have helped many, many people work through their stuff. And one of the most important things, so I want you guys to all take out your handouts for just a second. I'm going to go over a few things. So, perfect for note-taking. You'll want to take, I have a feeling that you'll have a lot of information. You're going to want to take some notes. Number 2 is if you want any of them to reach out to you. Now, one of the special things of this series is I want to make sure it's not a huge sales pitch, that you're not getting 100 emails when you leave any of these presentations. But the fact is, if you want help, we have it. And in addition to my speakers and my wonderful educational partners that I could not do this series without, there are so many resources available to help you. So you just want to mark on anything that you might need assistance with. And it might not be super quick, but eventually I will get you hooked up with a person. Sometimes it takes me a while. So, all right, with that, I just want to ask you a couple things. If you can all make sure your cell phones are muted. Stay around for the drawing at the end. We've got some great things gift cards and so forth to give away. And we'll get the schedules out for next year. And save your questions to the end as well so that we can get through all of the speakers. I know that many of you are going to have questions today. And so once again, I just want to welcome you here. And I'm going to start by having each of the speakers introduce themselves, starting with Susie Marsh.
Hi, everyone. I'm Susie Marsh, and I am a professional organizer for the past 16 years. And I'm also a licensed social worker for the last 35 years. So I've combined the two together to work with seniors and other people in their homes to downsize and declutter.
Good morning. I'm Lisa Suttorp. I own a company called Moving Angels. I've been moving seniors for about 11 years now. It's a full service move, so from beginning to end, however much help you need with that.
My name is Huempfner, and I am a little newer at this. I've been doing this for about 7 years, and we also specialize in downsizing, packing, and moving, and making sure you have a nice, efficient move.
Moving seniors is different than moving any other people, especially when you're downsizing and going from, when you're younger, we're usually going from smaller to bigger. That's a lot easier. A lot easier going from smaller to bigger than bigger to smaller. So we're going to talk a lot about just different strategies. So Susie, we're going to start with you. And so you've been an integral part of what I always refer to as my tribe for many years. And not only because you're a great organizer, but your approach has always been built on the foundation of the emotional ties that people have to their items. So can you talk a little bit about how your background in social work prepared you for what you do today and how it might differ from other organizers and even maybe how you would change your approach based on the client as well?
Sure, thank you. So you get a 2-for-1 with me, social worker and professional organizer. So the field really interested me organizing because in my social work background, I was an administrator and a frontline social worker. So I worked with people, hands-on, every day, really loved being around people and having that interaction. So I decided that professional organizing was something that seemed like a good fit for me. And boy, did I ever find out. I didn't know there was a whole niche, even in the professional organizing field, of what's called chronic disorganization. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. So, but I use these social work skills to work with my clients one-on-one. It's not uncommon my clients will be crying sometimes, with the emotional ties to items. So that's part of what I do, is just work with you one-on-one to talk through those emotions and just kind of decide what's important and what's not.
Great. I know as a realtor as well, there are times I'm wearing my counselor hat, my cleaning lady hat, my yard person hat. It really differs by the day. So now you work with people who are staying in their homes just as often, or probably more so, than you work with people who are moving. So can you walk us through what happens when you initially meet with a client who simply wants to live more freely in their current home?
Yeah, so what I typically do is I do what's called a walkthrough. And we walk around the spaces, and I make notes, and we develop what's called a plan of action. That's the social worker in me. Where we come up and we decide what things are going to be a priority, what's not a priority, how we need to tackle this. And as we're walking through, we're just really, deciding what's really important in those spaces. And then, it may be a big space like a garage. It could be an outbuilding. That's actually why I'm dressed like this today, because this is my work outfit. I'm going to be working in a shed when I get done here. So, we'll be. I organize all out spaces and indoor spaces. So, but once we get done with that walkthrough, we sit down. Like I said, we prioritize. We decide. How would you like me to come help you? So it's really deciding. Do you need my help just to kind of plan it out? On how to make this move happen, or to downsize and make it so that your place is okay for you to stay, so it's healthy, it's safe, you can get around easy, Maybe you have really tall cabinets and shelves that we need to problem solve on how to handle those spaces better so you can reach things. So we just really walk through that plan, and then I come however much you need me to. Like Laura said, sometimes it can be 5 hours where you just need me to help you with a plan. Sometimes it's 250 hours I'm working to help downsize somebody so that they can stay in their home.
Now, this is an extra question. This wasn't on the list, but I just kind of thought of it. Do you find that many of these people, especially in larger homes that have lived there for a while, what portion of their homes do they generally actually live in?
Usually your kitchen, your bathroom, and your living space. And sometimes your living space and your kitchen are all together too. And so most people are kind of in, and of course you got to go to sleep. So unless you sleep in your chair, your recliner, but you use your bedroom. But a lot of space most people don't use. Extra bedrooms, extra bathrooms, whole floors. People don't use them.
It's not uncommon for me to meet with people who have not been in their lower level in years. Sometimes they have mobility issues, and maybe they've been down there once or twice, but literally they do not ever go in their lower level, and it might be full. So, and that's, that is pretty typical. As we age, you have all the things that you need, nice, close by, and convenient, and the things that we don't use very often, and sometimes as you entertain less, and maybe decorate less and things like that, those things start to become even, less important as time goes on. So for any person who has a family member or even themselves who really, really struggles to let things go, we know that having too many items can actually not only be inconvenient and uncomfortable, but they can definitely become a safety hazard. So what are some of the areas that you would concentrate on for seniors who are looking to safely age in place, especially for those who really, really struggle with the stuff?
Yeah, so I actually brought a prop. This is what I carry around with me all the time, and this is from the Institute for Challenging Disorganization, which is an organization that I belong to, that a lot of mental health professionals belong to, but it has a clutter hoarding scale. So it goes from clutter all the way up to hoarding, so level 1 through 5. So a 1 is like most people's homes where you may have a little clutter here and there, and it works its way all the way up to a level 5, which would be what you see on the TV show Hoarders, where you can't walk in the door, you're climbing over things, there's no access to windows and doors, that kind of thing. So when I'm working with somebody, I'm looking at this scale to see where they fall in that. So I will, look at their appliances. Are all the appliances working? Do they have access to their front door, their back door to get in and out? What do the stairs look like? Are there stuff piled on the stairs, because when you're going to want to go down the stairs, but you can't necessarily go up and down the stairs a lot. Maybe you have some mobility issues. You tend to step stuff at the top of the stairs or on the stairs, and it doesn't necessarily go down, but then that can become a hazard. So I'm looking at that. I'm looking at, are you using your bed? Are you able to get access to laying down and sleeping? I'm looking at to see, how are your pets taken care of? Are they having issues, with maybe you're not able to take care of them as much as what you used to, or, change the litter box and all of those kind of things. And the good thing is, being a social worker, I have access to different resources that are out there. So like AARP, looking at your home, as far as what, how you can age in place there. There's the Area Agency on Aging that I refer clients to if they need other supports in place. So I look at all of that holistically with the clients.
Do you ever find that clients are surprised at where they fall on your scale? Does there ever seem to be an aha moment where they're like, oh, it's not so bad, and then all of a sudden they're like, oh, I'm a level 4?
Most times it's actually people are like, mine's the worst you have ever seen, right? And I'm like, no, No, don't worry about it. I say, let's look at the scale and kind of see where you're at and what things we need to do to make it a healthy and safe place for you to stay.
Notice we said healthy and safe and not perfect and immaculate, right?
There's no such thing as perfect.
Right.
No such thing.
Amen, sister. So most of us all tend to just keep way more than we need. What really distinguishes a person who is dealing with the typical everyday clutter and they just need some, they need some encouragement, they need help with that organizing, from one who could really, really use the help of a trained professional and who might be putting themselves at risk? Do you find that there are just some characteristics or, what are the main differences?
Yeah, so there are big differences. So I mentioned chronic disorganization before. There's what's called chronic disorganization and situational disorganization. So situational is really just like you've had something happen in your life to where things have kind of come off the rails. Maybe you got a new medical diagnosis, so things, you're not able to move things around like you used to. Maybe you're taking care of a new grandchild in your home, so that's kind of uprooting things, but it's more temporary kind of things. Chronic disorganization is more where it's something that you've struggled with for a long time. So it can be things like attention deficit disorder. You could have anxiety, depression, physical challenges that are chronic can also be in that realm too. Hoarding tendencies or hoarding behaviors also fall into that category. So a lot of times I'll take a look at that with clients to see where they fall. Is it more of a chronic thing where it's been a lifelong try to have self-help thing? I can't tell you how many times I go in and I see all kinds of organizing books and, the podcasts and everything else. And they say, have you heard of the home edit team? And, have you seen all that? And I'm like, yes, let's talk about you and see how it necessarily impacts you, the disorganization piece. So there's two different pots that we look at, and I try to figure out where you fall in that.
So do you have any stories where you've literally been called into what I would call emergency situations with clients who may need to return home after a hospital stay, or even children who have called because of severe concern over their parents and things like that?
I can think of a couple examples. One is there's an older lady I was working with. She had hoarding disorder. She had to go in for a knee replacement, and it had to happen soon. We realized that for her to come back home, we needed to get the pathways more clear than ever, and so I had maybe 24 hours to turn it around, to go in there, and her family was ecstatic because they hadn't seen it like that in years. But I had to work with her ongoing after that as well, but I had to hurry up and get that ready to go. Another situation was a lady needed to move into a senior community pretty quickly. She had a lot of mental illness issues, and she was decompensating. She was really regressing pretty quickly, and so we had to go in. I had to get a team of organizers to work with me, and we had to clear it out pretty quickly as well. I had to use a lot of resources to try to get that done, and the family member was from out of state. So it happens. It happens where you have to do it really fast.
Yeah.
It's not the best scenario. I really encourage you to start downsizing early.
Well, one thing I find on that situation where a senior, for whatever reason, has to move due to a change in health where they really don't want to, they haven't prepared for it, it's literally like a double whammy. It is like an additional death to them that they then are losing their home, not losing, but having to transition out of their home, and they're also then having to give up their stuff at the same time and they're not even really making those decisions, they're simply having to leave it, and it is absolutely excruciating for them. I mean, it just makes it so much harder and so much worse. So I know that it can be so challenging when we have to pay for the assistance of a professional. I mean, I find this in my own home, whether it's cleaning or windows or things that I used to always do myself. And as I get older and busier, and I'm like, I just got to pay for it. And I'm so cheap, it's really hard to pay for it. But sometimes, what would you tell someone in terms of giving the people in our audience permission to pay for the help of any of you on this panel, no differently than you would give yourselves permission to go to the doctor when you're sick?
So anytime anybody calls me to ask about services or resources, I'll say, first thing, congratulations. You have made a great step forward because you're asking for help. A lot of people won't do that. Now, I look at everybody's situation holistically, like I said. So it may be where you need a professional because family lives out of state. They cannot come to help you do it. Maybe they're in town, but maybe, like Laura said, they work a full-time job. They can't quite get there. So you need somebody that knows the resources out there, has the ability to do the work, can help you if you are having those emotional ties to items, and help you just dive deeper into that. Why exactly do I feel like I need to hold on to this item? Does it serve me, or is am I serving it? So.
Yeah, because even paying for services, what I find, like right now, the real estate market's been strong for many, many years now. And so if you've lived in your home for a while, I guarantee it's appreciated a lot. And there's a lot of value in your home. But if it's filled with stuff, it often leads to deferred maintenance because you can't even necessarily get to all the areas. And so the idea of paying for services is really an investment financially in your house if you are able to live there for a longer amount of years because it's safe, and your home's worth more when it's clean and easily accessible. So it really is a win-win all the way around. So I'm giving you guys permission. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to move on to Lisa. And I have to say, I had to twist Lisa's arm to get her here. She's like, I really don't like speaking in front of people. But she is amazing at what she does, and her and I have worked together on so many moves, and I just felt strongly about her being able to share her knowledge with you today. So I know that she's a little bit different than Susie in the sense that most of the clients who Lisa works with, are moving either immediately or in the near future. So can you tell us, Lisa, a little bit about what happens when people reach out to you and how you work with them to develop a strategy based on what their goals are?
First, we would do a walkthrough. So we talk about an initial consultation meeting. What are your goals? What are your plans? How much time do we have to complete these plans? Walk through, see what your house looks like now, what you want it to look like in the future, where are you moving to. I do floor planning for people, so like this, we would draw up your house that you're moving to or your apartment, condo, and then measure your furniture and then see what fits in the space. It's a scaled floor plan, and see what we can actually bring with us and talk about that. People come to me at various stages of their moves, whether they're just thinking about it, maybe I should start, talking to someone, and we're not planning on moving for the next 5 years, or we have to move in a month. So depending on your situation, if it's, I've had clients where it's a year away, and we can schedule some downsizing sessions. One client I had, we would meet every Tuesday. And once I got them going, we just meet for 3 hours, try to downsize a certain area, a certain room. And once I got them going and they got used to doing that task, they didn't need me anymore. They were working on their own. And so when it was time to move, they were downsized, they were ready to go. Everything fit where it was supposed to fit. We didn't have too many clothes. And so it was much more comfortable and not so scary. And other people, when it's time to move in the next month, let's say, or 2 months, we would just concentrate on what are we moving. We don't want to look at everything in the house because it's overwhelming. We can't fix or bring everything. We can't donate it all right now. We just want to concentrate on what we're moving and what's going to fit, and then we'll come back and deal with and talk about what we have left behind after the move is complete.
Great. So the line of work that Lisa actually does is called move management. And it really is a fairly new concept and one that's become very, very popular in recent years. So for those in the audience that are unfamiliar, Lisa, can you kind of explain the concept of move management and what it is and all the various services that tend to fall under the realm of move management? You've touched on a few, but.
Move management is kind of having your own general contractor of your move. You know, you have a contact person that you're always going to talk to. You're not talking to 15 different people of 15 different services. You have one person you're calling and saying, hey, I thought of this. How are we going to tackle this? And we go from there. We can do as much or as little of that as you want. You know, I can take care of everything and you just relax and not worry about it, or you just need help in certain areas, we can work on those too. We develop an overall move plan, organize, sort, downsize, do some floor planning of either your current home or you're gonna stay there and we just need to rearrange some furniture, or we're moving and what are we actually gonna physically bring with us. We can arrange for unwanted items. Are we gonna have an estate sale? Are we gonna have a garage sale? Downsize and donate? What are we gonna do with the extra things that we don't need anymore? We schedule and oversee movers, schedule and oversee packing and unpacking. Essentially, we want to make sure that it's turnkey. When you walk into your new home, everything's ready. You want to get a glass, you can walk in and open your cabinet, and you know, generally your glasses are next to the sink, and there they are. So there's not any worries on your behalf. You just come to me and we take care of it.
Yeah, typically when we've moved somebody together, we tell them to go out and do something fun on the day of the move, and they show up and their bed is made and their kitchen's put away. And anything else. I mean, we could even put up pictures and things like that if that's the case. So that's pretty powerful when it's normally a very, very stressful thing. So now there's a lot of really organized people in the world. Talk a little bit about what's the difference between hiring someone like you versus getting help from Aunt Peggy, who's super organized and has moved several times over the years. Everybody's got an Aunt Peggy, so.
Right. Professionals do this kind of work every day. So they're efficient, goal-oriented. They know what your goal is and you know what the end result needs to be. So we're trying to get there as quickly as we can. We have tricks of the trades to help accomplish these goals. And a professional will more keep you on track than a family member or friend might get chit-chatty and you know, start reminiscing, and then pretty soon we've spent the whole afternoon chatting, which is great, but you didn't get any sorting or downsizing done or organizing. So professionals will help keep you on track. They will also keep your secrets. If there's things you don't want family members or friends to know, we're not going to tell anybody or talk about it. You know, you're professional, and we're there to help you. We don't care what's going on behind the scenes. We just want to be there to help you. We also know when to kind of pull back. Are you getting tired, frustrated, sad? Is it an emotional moment and we should back away and kind of take the emotional moment, take a break, or call it a day, or push forward, keep going. So we know when to look for, or how to look for these things, and how to change course as needed.
Yeah, that's pretty important, because one of the things, our homes are very intimate places, you know, and especially when you're letting somebody into your home, like Lisa said, you don't want to necessarily share that all, even sometimes with a friend. It is easier, think of, you know, using someone like this as talking to your doctor about things that you would prefer to keep private versus a friend that you want to just be able to hang out with and sometimes not necessarily share everything. So that I thought was a really important point. So can you talk about some of the systems, the very more specific systems that you've used to help homeowners prepare for a move, and how some of the people in the audience could actually adapt these systems to use them on their own at home, whether or not they're moving?
Donating, sorting through your things slowly at your own pace. We're do a cabinet a day, do a room a day, something small that multiplies over the month. If you walk into your kitchen and you think, oh, I have to sort this entire kitchen, it's overwhelming, and you walk away. You don't want to do it. Nobody does. But if you can just I'm going to take the spice cabinet today and go through that and throw away things that you don't ever use, then in 30 days, maybe you've gotten through 25 cabinets, and it's a much easier task to take small bites. Then you can also take small donation trips. Maybe you just have a Meyer bag you can go drop off somewhere. It's not trash bags full of things that we've gone through, taking small donations. If you find a charity you love, it's easier to donate your items to them. I worked with a gentleman who was a veteran, and he did not want to move. He didn't want me to help him. His wife had arranged the whole thing, and we went through his closet, which he had way too many clothes, and they weren't going to fit in his new closet, and he was 100% against it. So when I looked up the Grand Rapids Veterans Home, they were looking for specific donations of items, and they happened to be looking for clothes at the time. And I told him I would bring the bags of donate to the Veterans Home, and he was all for it. He emptied half his closet, no problem. So if you can find somewhere that you're passionate about, even the animal shelter or your vet, you could donate your old towels and blankets to, or somewhere that means something to you. It's easier to give to them, knowing that they're going to appreciate it. Clearing out anything in your home you don't need. Goes the same way, just clearing out a cabinet and things that you don't use, clothes you don't wear, towels. How many towels do we all need? How many sheets do you really need? Sheet sets, you need one on the bed and one you're washing. So, I have too many, I'll admit that. If you have things that you're saving for family members, maybe you want to give the china set to your great-granddaughter or whatever item it might be, give it to them now. You can see their joy and happiness in receiving it, and maybe you go to Thanksgiving dinner to their house and you get to eat on the china that you've been saving for them. It's nice to be able to give it and know that it's appreciated rather than sitting in a box in your basement or in a cabinet that you're never looking at. This happened to me actually recently. Been talking to my mom about downsizing, and she gave me a picture of my aunt. She's a painter, and it's a self-portrait. It's the only self-portrait she ever painted, and my mom gave it to me for my birthday. So we had a good cry about it, but so you get to see the point. And I'm not saying give away things that you love, because you should have the things you love around you. But if there's things you're not using but you plan to give, then it's a good time. I think that's good.
So one thing I wanted to point out on the last page of your handouts today. So this is kind of the basic downsizing system that Lisa and I have used together. So now this does have to do with if you're moving, but it's really easy to just take that top part with colored stickers, and you can buy colored removable stickers just about anywhere. And instead of, making it a big process, on a day that you're relaxed, just go through and start stickering things that need to go somewhere, things that you're ready to donate or whatever. And even if you have a person that's ready to help you, they can simply go through and look for things that have red stickers. Because sometimes the whole process of making the decision, putting it in the box, actually moving the box, that can be pretty overwhelming. But if all you're doing is walking through and saying, I don't really need this, I haven't used it, red sticker. As you're relaxed, just little things like that over time will certainly, add up to something that will start to make a difference. I had a great story from my father-in-law. So my mother and father-in-law go to Texas every year, and my father-in-law had stables. He had 40 horses at one time, way in the past. And he had these old saddles that were in the barn. He's still got a few, but he actually took some down to Mexico. They are things that people here, you had a kid that was equestrian would probably laugh at and say, I'm never going to use that. Well, these gentlemen in Mexico were very, very grateful to have these saddles. And, what a cool thing when you can find somebody who will appreciate your stuff. But I will tell you, it takes a lot of effort often to find those people. So if you're really adamant about making sure that somebody gets it that you know of, just be prepared to spend the time. I often just love the idea of finding a charity that you love and can feel free blessing and releasing that item, knowing that somewhere, you may never see it, but somewhere somebody's going to love that and appreciate it like you did. Okay, so what are some of the strategies that you have used to help clients pare down but still enjoy things that are memorabilia related or various collections? So what are your suggestions on organizing those collectibles and even photographs?
Photographs give away. Everybody has too many. No, but seriously, if you have just boxes and boxes of photos, even photos, like I have some photos that are my great-great-grandparents that I just love, but they're all sitting in boxes. What? We don't look at them. Put them in books. You can sort them by family. So if your son's family, here's all his pictures from when he was a kid, and you keep your favorites. Maybe make up your own book you can keep on your coffee table so you can actually look at it every day. But you don't need the boxes in the basement. Give those to who should get them appropriately. But yeah, making up photo books is a good thing just to look through. Other collections, it depends on the size of your collection. I have a friend, her mom collected every collectible you could collect. And she has curio cabinets in every room, and in her basement it looks like cabinets and cabinets and cabinets with windows of all these. So she doesn't go down to her basement anymore, so she doesn't see any of these collections. And it's time at that point to sell them, give them to a family member who would appreciate them. I mean, I'm friends with her daughter, and her daughter would love to have them. So just let her take them and put them in her own home, and you can go over and look at them. Sell them, we have resources to find if it's worth anything, how we can go about selling it. Or if it's a collection that can be broken, take your favorite 10 Hummels out of your 400 Hummels and put those in a glass box on a shelf. They have wall shelves that you can enjoy them and keep appreciating them every day, but you don't have to have all 400 anymore. So it depends on what kind of a collection. As I said before, if you have anything you need to or want to share with family, do that. I did bring a shadow box. So I was keeping my daughter's baby clothes. I had several boxes because she just can't get rid of them. And instead, I took my favorite outfits and put them in this little shadow box, and it just hangs in my hallway next to my bedroom, and it's just for me, essentially. It's not decor or anything, but I donated the boxes of baby clothes to families that will actually use it instead of it growing mold in my basement. So this is an idea for any kind of a collection you have, all kinds of different shadow boxes, different depths and sizes that you can put collections in and still enjoy every day, but not have to keep all of it.
Yeah, that's huge, because we're never suggesting that you that you live some Spartan existence. We want you to have the items around you that bring you joy and that you use every day, but all the things that are the items that sit in the basement and collect dust, somebody will have to deal with them. Like I said in the beginning, someday you might as well deal with it now so that you can, live safely and have that part done a little at a time. So now I've known clients that take literally many months to settle in after they move, and often it's not uncommon to bring boxes when you move that have been moved multiple times and may not have been opened in 20 years. Have any of you done that? They're like, yeah, I have no idea what's in there, but it's got to come with me. So what are some of the things that you provide, Lisa, so that you can help clients be fully moved in directly after the move and resist the urge to have those untouched boxes sitting around for months after the move?
I was in one of those boxes for 5 years.
We offer unpacking services. So ideally, you'd have us come in, pack, move, unpack, put everything away. So when you walk in, there are not any boxes left. There's nothing on the floor. Everything's put away. You can put sticky notes on the cabinets you want things in. You know, I want glasses here, I want my dishes here. Or we put them away in logical places, and you have the whole rest of your life to rearrange them, you know, but they're not in a box on the floor in front of you to try to get into the refrigerator. So ideally it is put everything away, hang the pictures, make it home. One thing I have to say about boxes, I've had people not get rid of boxes because they're saving them for their kids, and not things they want to give to them, but their kids' stuff, literally, you know. Softball trophies and dance recital outfits, whatever it might be, but they got to save them, but their kids don't want them right now. You're not a storage unit. You know, you don't need to keep their stuff. Give them a date. I need it out by X date, or I'm going to donate it. Or, you know, if you want it, come get it, but I'm not keeping it for you anymore. It's okay to draw a boundary and not be a storage unit for them, and just, you got to come get it. So that's all I have to say. Don't keep items that other people should be taking care of.
Actually, one of my good friends, Kara, just gave me a line the other day that she's like, why do I need a storage unit? Goodwill is my storage unit. If there's anything that I need, I can literally go and buy it in one of the 25 stores that are around me. So she's like, that just serves as my, you know, my home away from home storage unit. And I thought that was a fabulous strategy. So don't worry about saving vases. There are always more, trust me. So, okay, with that, we're going to go ahead and move on to Christian. So I got to be familiar with Christian just a few years ago because I had spoken to some local communities, and they had just been super happy with their clients' experience after Christian moved them. And so, Christian, tell us a little bit about what made you choose to work with seniors rather than focusing on just a more general mover.
So I came from the lawn care industry, and as you can imagine, that was a very competitive industry. And I myself am a very detailed person. I like to spend some extra time making sure things are appropriate and correct, and to be able to compete in that against people that would do, you know, just a sufficient job but not over the top was rather tough and not my style. So when I got into moving, I got into senior moving through my sister, and we got a couple jobs, and we ended up sticking, and you know, being able to read the room and understand people's situations, I noticed was like adamant for every customer. And doing that and getting through some of those jobs, I've never found a more appreciative group and a niche that was so needed. I mean, this isn't even a want. This is a need, and a lot of people that we work with don't quite understand that until we get into the job and finish it. So I got into moving, and I love this job. So that's why I'm doing it.
Yeah, it really is. It is so different. And when I've worked with Christian and his team, and it's a very family, got lots of people in your family helping out, which is just awesome. I mean, it really we come around a client and just that client knows that they are special and that they will get great care. So what are some of the things that you do with a client prior to the move to help that move day go more smoothly? And what does that timeline usually look like?
So typically, moving is kind of anxious, not sure what you're getting into. And so it's always nice getting called ahead of time before a move. A lot of people tend to call us anywhere from 2 weeks to 6 weeks before. I recommend that 3+ week window. And so I like to meet with my client, and I spend a good hour with them, just getting to know them, getting to know who they are, asking what they're trying to accomplish. And sometimes they don't give me the answers or tell me what they really need, but I can see it. And so I can make a game plan knowing what they actually do need and make them feel comfortable, kind of turn the situation into a positive, give them a lot of peace of mind. And so when move day comes, we already got them on the good side and looking forward to it. And by the time we get it wrapped up, we take something that wasn't so much of a fun situation to know you got to deal with and get into and make it a very positive ending. So.
Yeah, most people I work with are not excited about moving. It's usually pretty stressful. So take us through a typical move day. Like, what time do you start? How many people are usually there that are involved? What are different people doing? What are some of the extra things that you do for clients to make sure that they settle in well on the other end?
All right, so a typical move day, we've had our initial meet. We've spoke on the phone a couple times before, just answering little questions or added things or subtracted things. And we usually start at about 9 a.m., but we're willing to start whenever. And I got 2 crews, so depending on the size of the job, I like to get in and get it done. I don't like to make my clients do a whole 12-hour day of moving. Nobody, if the movers are getting tired, then you guys are definitely feeling it. So we like to get in. If it needs packing, we pack the day before or 2 days before, and then the movers arrive the next day at about 9 a.m. We pack the trucks. We take care of like the bedding and the bathroom stuff, the clothing that we left for the next day. All those little details are there, and then we get all the items over before noon. We get all the boxes in, and the ladies start unpacking and putting things in their appropriate place. Very similar to these ladies here. They're way ahead of the ball. So I'm sure I can learn a lot from them, but all the little details aren't overlooked. Like your favorite coffee mug isn't going to go in a cabinet that you can't reach. All your plastic Tupperwares with plastic Tupperware. A lot of that stuff is downsized in the process so that it all fits when we do get there. Your clothing is with springtime clothes and color coordinated. Your bedding is put on the bed clean, even if we have to wash it. We do all those little things. So by the time that we're all wrapped up, you guys are ready to be tucked in and go to bed. So.
Which is actually perfect. So I realize that every move and every client's very unique. So how do you charge for your services? And are you generally able to give people a realistic range of what the move is going to cost after you've done that initial consultation and walkthrough?
So every person's situation's different. Some people are a little more put together and organized and ready to go. The more that you are, it's easier to get a specific price. So if I come in and, we'll organize that, we'll organize this, my kids are taking this away, my kids are taking that away. It's hard to put a price on that because not all the time that goes down just as we're talking. So what I do like to do is give a range, because nobody likes surprises, especially me, because I got a lot of people to pay. So I've been doing this for long enough to, I was always very good at being accurate in that realm. So the initial walkthrough, that hour that we spend and we get to know each other, I'm processing a lot of that information. So by the time we're done with that, I can give you a very realistic timeline and goals to hit with a value and price attached to that.
Yeah, it makes a big difference. What I have found with, many people who are actually very organized, but everything's tucked away in closets. But as you start going through closet after closet after closet, it's amazing how much those things can add up when you walk into a seemingly very organized home. But if you're truly moving a lot of that stuff, that really does add up. So having an idea of not just the furniture, but all the basement, all the garage, all the outbuildings, like Susie was talking about, all that can really, really add a lot of cost.
Yeah,
So.
the moving's the easy part. It's what these girls are doing is the time-consuming and most needed, really. I think that's the difference between, a service company like ourselves and what you may call as a moving company, and why, not just to sell what we do, but it's really, there's a big difference between hiring a normal moving company and hiring a senior moving company, somebody who looks at all those details and doesn't just come in and plop a box there for you to take care of.
Yeah, one of the things that I want to stress is that by downsizing your items beforehand and working with people like this who are specific to working with seniors, one of the best ways to lessen the cost, the time, and the stress of your move is to not move things that you don't need. So that is so important. And if you just call up a basic moving company, they're not going to take you through those steps. They're simply going to move it all. And I'm telling you, for those of you who take the time to downsize your items, it is going to save you time, money, effort, stress, all the way around. It's just a better situation when you're ready to kind of tackle this stuff beforehand. So, Christian, can you talk about some of the most challenging situations that you might have encountered while moving people? And what suggestions do you have for clients that they can really, help be prepared for a move?
Well, I'd say that the challenging part is that emotional attachment to things that may have not even been used in years and years. And we deal with that on a daily basis. So every day is a challenge. But the rewarding part is to take something like that where people are uneasy about what's about to happen, and one day later, a week later, whatever it is, they feel all that peace come inside them that this is over with, and it looks so good, and I feel like a weight off my shoulder. So our jobs are tough. They're not easy, but are they rewarding? I've never seen something so rewarding emotionally. So we've been in quite a few of those situations where there's items everywhere. So if that gives any of you guys any peace of mind, I'm sure there's a lot worse that we've dealt with than what anybody else is getting into. So.
Well, I find that often we are taking someone from a situation where it's become somewhat unsafe for multiple reasons. It might simply be that the house is just, has stairs, has a laundry that's in the basement. It might be because the home has too much stuff. There can be a number of reasons. And moving is such a stressful thing, but it's almost more stressful to think about it than it is to actually do it when you have the right team in place. And that's one of the things that I'd love to stress to all of you is the fact that, 9 out of 10 seniors that I work with, when the move is all done and when they're settled in their new place and their coffee cup is put away and they're looking at their pictures and they're like, why didn't I do this sooner? And I hear that all the time. It really is amazing when you go from lots of stress in contemplating and thinking about the move to actually having the move behind you, and your biggest decision that day might be to have dessert at lunch or at dinner. It can make a big difference, or what fun thing to do that day. So, Christian, do you have any tips that you'd love to share with family members who are considering helping a parent transition that would help things go more smoothly?
Absolutely. So, just getting started. The hardest thing about anything is to get started. And I don't know, my dad always told me how to eat an elephant, and it's one bite at a time. So, and we've ran into a few elephants, I'd say. But if you can get started ahead of time and try to figure out what really isn't coming with you. And the more you can donate, the more you can give away to your kids, to friends, to people who could appreciate it in the future, the more that you can do that ahead of the move date, I think brings a lot of peace of mind to most people. But just getting started, that's my biggest advice, is get ahead of it. Call us if you need help, and know that you have those options out there like that to get some advice, get a little pump up, get ready to go, and know that they got your back. So.
Yep, there are definitely people out there to help you, whether, like all these people said, whether it's a little or a lot, it will be well worth it in the end. You will be thankful to yourself that you allowed yourself to not try and go it alone. And it does take a village to do a move like this. So, all right, with that, I'm going to go ahead and basically open it up for questions in just a minute. A couple things that I want to go through. So if you guys can take a moment, since especially with this being our last presentation, I know there's a lot of new people here today. Please definitely, while we're doing the questions, fill out your sheets completely, especially for those of you who are not regulars. That is really helpful. Don't forget to share any additional comments. We love to hear that. I'm so excited that in the fall, we're going to be moving to the bigger room. So I'll never have to turn anybody away for not having space. So we're actually going to be in what's called the Grand Huizinga room starting in September. And on your way out today, when you give us your sheet, we're going to make sure that you have next year's schedule. We've got those in both magnet form and also rack card form. Feel free to take a couple of those. So if you'd like to share them with friends, absolutely. That's what they're there for. And next September, I'm going to be back here on the 12th, and that first presentation is going to be Get Savvy About Living to 100. Okay? And for all you smart Alex who say, I'm only going to live to be 96 or 98, I promise there will still be good information for you as well. So you can still come. I am not selling vitamins. We're not selling anything, but we'll have lots of good tips for sure. So, so that's it for now. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to open this up for questions for about the next 15 minutes.
I am literally in the middle of moving my mother from independent living to assisted living. Moving day is Thursday. I have everything down except the little niff-naff in life. The jewelry, the ink pens, the change. I don't know if I have it in me to actually sort all of that before the move. Do I just shove it in a box? And the reason I'm afraid to not do that is because I have found things like her wedding ring in the kitchen drawer, my father's Army medals stuffed in the storeroom. I'm afraid to just throw it away. What advice do you have?
Any of you girls?
Well, if you're afraid that there's going to be anything of value, I would definitely keep it so you can have another time to look at it. You may have to take it home yourself instead of transitioning it with her. But yeah, I would definitely keep it, and if you have that nagging at you.
One of the things too, when you're doing these moves that I've found with people, I always tell people, even as we're talking about the move initially and listing the houses, start immediately to think about what are my things that are most personal, most important, things like checkbooks, medications, even any guns, anything like that that you don't want anyone else to touch is really good to start putting off to the side long before the move, because there's just certainly things that it can get lost in the shuffle very, very easily. So those things that are of utter importance, make sure that you have one person who's a trusted person, could be yourself, but often a trusted person who is taking care of your most important, things that you're going to need immediately that you absolutely could not be without in case they got misplaced. So
The remotes.
yeah. Yes. Hey, back there.
Kristen, when you, with moving, will you move someone across the state?
Yes, we do quite a few from like Detroit back to Grand Rapids. I'm doing one down to Florida next month. I did a couple from Florida back up here last year. So I'll do anything.
Hey, just to add on to that, because I'm kind of in several groups that are nationwide that work with downsizing seniors, if you've got somebody that, oh my gosh, we need assistance moving my parents and they're in Texas, there are a good chance that I may be able to refer you to somebody who does what we do somewhere else in the country. So just keep that in mind. This is definitely, there's not a lot of us, but we tend to stick together and really try and refer each other. So.
Do any of you work with people with documents? So back taxes, back financial records, all those file drawers?
Yes, paper. It's usually one of the last things people want to deal with, just because it's so time consuming. And that's usually, I do leave it last when we're doing a house because there's just a lot to go through. But yes, so usually I'll say, talk to your financial person on what they want you to keep as far as, like end of year statements, that kind of thing. And then like your taxes, if you got a CPA or somebody that does your taxes, ask them what they're recommending. Like my CPA says that you technically have to keep like 3 years, but if you're somebody that hasn't kept your filed your taxes or have problems with the IRS can go back and audit you as far as they want to. So I just say talk to your CPA and stuff, and then we'll go by those guidelines.
How do you go about selecting a competent estate sales organization?
Okay, how do you go about selecting a competent estate sale person? That's a great question. So, and honestly, the answer to this question can kind of go along with fill in the blank. How do you select a qualified realtor, move manager, mover, professional organizer? What I always say is for these very, very important decisions, and an estate sale would be a classic one, you want to first off, get somebody who is referred to you. I mean, I absolutely, over the last few years, have built up trusted resources because I've worked with these people and I know they are reputable and do a good job. Even if a person comes from a referral, meet with them yourself. So often you're going to get a feeling of, is this person a good fit for you? You want to see in writing with estate sale people and all these other businesses, what am I being charged for? Find out, ask all the questions. Is there anything extra that is not in the initial contract? Are there things that might cost me more? I know with estate sale people, I have one that I use regularly that I feel does a great job and is very reputable. They charge a certain percentage, but then they don't take anything away after the sale. So then you do, and typically one thing that people don't tend to really understand is that even after a very successful estate sale, I would say that 25 to 30% of the items are often still left. And so there's much that still needs to be donated, cleaned up, recycled. On a recent house that I worked on, I mean, multiple trips to not only donation, metal recycling, chemical recycling, cardboard recycling, and all these are, a lot of them are different places. So you really have to think about when you clean out a house, a large house, especially for the final time, there is a ton. So when you're talking to an estate person, you want to find out, okay, here's the percentage that you charge, and what exactly does that include? Because I've talked to other estate people who sometimes have two different charges. One, if they leave everything there. Another, if they take the rest of the items that are left. So those are really the questions. And I would always ask for testimonials from anybody that you deal with. Do you have references? Can I talk to other clients that you have worked with? And if you've got somebody that, can't refer you to another client that they've worked for, that might be a red flag. So it's just really that, making sure that, you're asking the right questions. It's always safe to, if you don't get a fabulous feeling from that person right off the bat, talk to multiples. Talk to one or two or even three in a case like that, and until you really get a comfortable feeling and good references and you've read through the contract and all of those things.
To add to that, I worked with an estate person who would take the items to a warehouse and then have like a big garage sale, estate sale at the warehouse. You should find out from your estate person, when do you expect to get your check back for your items? And obviously you already talked about what that percentage might be, but when might it be? They took the items to the warehouse, but they stay there indefinitely, so maybe they're there for a year, and so you're not going to get your return until they actually sell them. Or, as in your estate person, they had like a garage sale at the house kind of thing, and he said he was going to send them a check in the next week. So make sure you ask, what kind of thing they're going to do.
Yeah, I would say the same thing when it goes along with consignment places. There are places that will take your items on consignment, but it's important to understand what does that time frame look like, because a lot of consignment places will say, we'll take it on consignment after 90 days, and if it doesn't sell after 90 days or 120 days, whatever that time is, we automatically donate it. So you want to understand, if you're bringing someplace, something to a sale or a consignment, what happens if it doesn't sell? Is it an item that, hey, if it doesn't sell for a certain price, that you may want it back? Or even another thing to ask an estate sale, if there are particular items that you want to make sure go for a minimum price, it's very, very important to have that conversation with them so that they know what that minimum price is. And I would always encourage you to keep it in perspective, because, unless it is something very special or very valuable, if you're moving, the value is in your home, and it truly is not generally in your stuff. And getting rid of stuff often does actually cost you money rather than make you money. And if you do more than break even in getting rid of all of it, truly you're doing pretty well. There's very few people who, I would say, make money on their items.
Have you seen or maybe could recommend language in a trust or something that says, that allows X amount of money or to pay for your services so that the executor of your estate or whatever doesn't have to try to figure this out?
I actually had a gal who has a trust so the trustee actually asked me for an estimate. So based on, they sent me pictures so I could see what I was dealing with. So then I did an estimate based on my hourly rate, what the assessment would be. And then if I have to do, haul away to medication recycling, hazardous waste recycling, any of that, So, and an estimate's an estimate, so but that's the best that I was able to do for them.
Power attorney had to know enough to call. I guess what I'm looking
Yeah.
at, have you seen language ever put in a trust that throws a flag up, hey, financial power of attorney, call somebody like this?
I had somebody that I did paperwork, documentation, and filing system and stuff for, that she actually wrote my name into the paperwork so her family would know. Mm-hmm.
Hey, just in a side note, so last June I did one, our final presentation was on how to be ready for anything, and I have something that I'd be happy to provide to any of you via email that's simply called a Go Book, and the idea of it is to write down the names of all these things. So any service people or professionals that you have met that you want to use in the future, or even things like the Go Book happens to have a list of treasured items that you want to donate to certain people in your family. So whether you use my version, or I know there's various versions out there where you have all of your things in one spot, all of your important documents. Here's my financial person, here's my estate attorney, here's the realtor that is already familiar with my house, here is the move manager, the mover, and the organizer that I absolutely trust to take care of my things afterwards. It will be so much easier on any of even your spouse, your kids, anyone who helps you with a move like this, to have those names already in place and in the hands of somebody who's actually going to be helping with that, as opposed to starting from scratch.
We had a neighbor in our condo development that was moving to Florida and selling. He had a client come in and say, how much for all the contents? And he got like $10,000 to $20,000 because he saved the moving cost to move it to, and is that fairly common?
I wouldn't say that was common, but I would say that it's certainly, especially in this real estate market where things have been competitive and people don't want to move their items, you will sometimes find people who want your items. But I guess I would usually caution that as it's usually how new and nice are your items. When I walk into some homes and they're beautifully decorated and they look like they're out of Better Homes and Gardens, would a buyer want to walk into that situation and have everything? Absolutely. When I walk into other homes that, maybe haven't been updated in a while and their items are tired and worn, and they say, well, wouldn't a buyer want all my stuff? The answer is likely no. So it's very much situational in a case like that. But yeah, when you can work it out where you don't want any of the items and somebody else is willing to take them on, that's a win-win for everyone.
I'd like to ask Christian, how much do you currently charge for your 1 hour walkthrough?
I don't charge anything for the initial walkthrough. So that hour is just me and the client, and I just hope to do work for them after that.
He's currently on sale.
Yep. And I'm going to probably say that's the same with both Lisa and Susie, right? Don't you guys do some version of a free consultation?
I start off with a phone or a virtual free consultation where we're just talking on the phone, kind of going over the basics, and I get some of your demographics, that kind of thing. But if I come out and actually do the hands-on assessment, that can take 1 to 2 hours, and I do bill for that.
I'm the family member that does this stuff in my family, and I have been put listed in people's wills, trusts, whatever, to take care of all this stuff. Sometimes I've been paid, sometimes not.
Your Aunt Peggy.
You can't put it in your will and trust so that you know your things are taken care of. And friends have told me, I do not want you to put this in a dumpster and whatever. So you can designate all those things.
Yeah, just document, 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 and share it with the people who need to know. That is definitely 101. And any of you who want to email me to get copies of the book that I have, please feel free to just email me and I'll be happy to provide that to you. Okay, guys, well, with that, it is pretty much a wrap. I hope that you got something out of it. Do you feel like you got some good ideas from today? Awesome. Just a huge, huge thank you to my speakers today. I feel like they all are just a wealth of information. I want to give a huge thank you to my sponsors and educational partners that have been here time and time again. Teresa's back there, Tom's back there. I don't know if Jared's back there yet, but it has been, I could not do this without them. So as you need different things, if you're interested in checking out any type of independent senior living, if you need hearing assistance, there's Hearing Life back there. If you're looking for just a reassessment of your current Medicare, Teresa's your gal back there. So please just let us know. These people are there to help, and I would not be partnering with them if they were not excellent at what they did. So, all right, one final round of applause, and I'm going to do these drawings. So.